if there's the perception that Jaylen Brown is going to be on the market and considering options, there will also be teams that will plan to take a shot at him.
No question. I'm also on the record as saying I wouldn't do this trade if I was the Celtics, which I understand is, maybe a minority position, but I look at this Celtics team, and as McMahon said, the most valuable thing you can find in the league right now are young two-way wing players. And the Celtics have built this team around two of them, in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And the thing I've appreciated about what Brad Stevens has done since he's gotten this job last summer is he has actively tried to build around those two guys. In other words, he has looked at the team and said, we need to maximize what we have around these two guys. And every move they've made has been in that vein. And it's why they took off last season when they moved on from Dennis Schroeder and Josh Richardson, guys that weren't great fits. It's why Malcolm Brogdon, assuming, the chemistry with him and Marcus Smart doesn't get sideways, with him coming off the bench, and Marcus, certainly waited a long time to be the starting point guard. I think they want to make sure he feels comfortable that he is going to be the starter still. That's going to help them in terms of some of that extra shot creation they didn't have. But this team has been built around those two guys, and they have a chance to be a championship level team for the next 5 to 7 years, assuming that Jaylen resigns. And I'm not giving that up, even to take on Kevin Durant at this point, as great as Durant is, given the injury concerns you have, given the age concerns you have, and given the fact that the Celtics already are, to me, one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the league. If I'm making a trade like this for Kevin Durant, I got to get. Make the call. Yeah, sure, I get it. I'm just saying, for me, ultimately, I wouldn't be doing it, because if you look at the past at teams that have made this kind of trade to get a guy like Kevin Durant, you're a team that's not in the very top tier, that's trying to get in the top tier. And so it's worth taking the risk, because obviously there's some risk there to dramatically alter your team to get this guy. For me, the Celtics are already in that tier, and they're set up to be in that tier for 5 years. I wouldn't be sacrificing that.
Your point is, at the cost of Durant, you're not sure when the smoke clears whether or not you are a better team in the short to medium term. And that is also, by the way, the same situation that the Suns find themselves in, if they have to include Cam Johnson, Miles Bridges. At the time they were talking about 8 and 2. So
I disagreed on the Suns. I think all the other teams that have been talked about, Phoenix, Toronto, Miami, I think they all need to do everything. I mean, short of trading Scotty Barnes, I think all those teams need to do whatever they can to try to get KD, because of what it would do for their direction. I just think the Celtics, it doesn't change it much.
Well, the Suns, they're on the CP3 window, right? And
yes,
they'll retool around Booker, and I'm not saying they're done being relevant, but as far as like they have a window as a contender that is tied to Chris Paul. The Miami Heat have a window as a contender, quasi-contender, however you want to define that, that's tied to Jimmy Butler. The Celtics window is tied to Jason Tatum, who is yet to hit his prime. Jaylen Brown, who is about to enter his prime. And I would be curious to see some nerd like Kevin Pelton put together
shrapnel. Pelton just took some shrapnel.
Nerd is
refer to him as the machine. Just refer to him as the machine.
The machine. Nerd is a complimentary term. It means he's smart and can crunch numbers in a way that I'm not capable of doing. But to put together a report that basically says, here's the probability, whatever kind of, figure out what the trade could look like. Here's the probability of the Celtics winning the championship if they pull off this trade next year, the year after, the year after. Because I'm going to say with KD, you're probably in a 3-year window versus the probability over 7 years if you don't make the trade. And just what those numbers, because I think you have to consider, yes, trading for Kevin Durant, I think you go from one of the 3 or 4 best teams to the favorite going into next season. But you are certainly shortening the window.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.